Today, I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Nigeria flags off vaccination for children. Still on the headlines, Sierra Leone families arrive to identify loved ones killed in protests. Also on the headline, Somali government vows responsibility over Shabab attack on hotel. And on sport, D Tigers ranked 5th in power ranking. And now the news in detail. The Nigerian government has flagged off vaccination of children against diarrhea caused by the rotavirus disease. The country's Minister of Health, Osage Ehanire, represented by the Director of Public Health, Morenike Alex Oko, flagged off the vaccination program in Abuja, the nation's capital, as part of activities marking African Vaccination Week, advocating for unvaccinated children in Africa, as well as urging parents to ensure that their children are vaccinated against rotavirus and all other childhood killer diseases, as this would improve the health of the children. In the same vein, the Minister of State's Federal Capital Territory, that is FCT, Ramatu Tijani, stated that the rotavirus vaccine will reduce the mortality and morbidity rates of children less than 5 years as a result of diarrhea. Represented by Mandate Secretary, Federal Capital Territory Administration, that is the FCTA, Tafida Abubakar, the minister gave the assurance that FCTA will continue to provide the necessary support to the health sector for the well-being of FCT residents. Away from that story, the Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero, has called for collective efforts to reverse the worsening spate of insecurity in the country. The monarch made the call during his visit to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa after attending various functions in Delta State.
Any point in time, we get information about insecurity and we talk about it and we send it to the government. The government virtually cannot be blamed for everything. And they cannot say they have the right thing to do to move away from what we are into. It has to be a collective responsibility. Everyone have a role to play. And if each and everyone in this segment, in the segments of the society, decided to be honest and contribute his or her own quota, I'm sure all these issues that are really bothering us will be a thing of the past. And I believe with the right leadership, things will get.
In his remarks, the Delta State governor urged the royal fathers to always ensure peaceful coexistence among subjects.
And I'm one of those that believes that our royal fathers need to be assigned even greater roles in the governance of this nation, because they have a very important role to play in terms of being able to keep our people closely knit together. And if we are to find solutions to the challenges that we have at the moment, we definitely need to have a working path. Those of us in government, a very strong working path with royal fathers in this nation. God has placed it on them to be able to pull the people together. And I believe that an effort to truly pull our royal fathers together would enable us achieve a situation where we are able to start to address the issues of insecurity.
And now looking at all the matters, let's have you know that some presidential candidates in the 2023 elections have spoken on how to make the Nigerian economy viable. Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, that is the PDP, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, Adewale Adebayo of the Social Democratic Party, and Dumebi Kachiku of the African Democratic Congress spoke at a plenary session on Monday. Bola Tinubu, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, was represented by his running mate, Kashim Shettima. Shettima said APC planned to tackle security by increasing the number of troops.
I've been in the theater of conflict for 18 years. I will lead the troops. My principal is an economy wizard who transformed Lagos into the third largest economy in Africa. He will concentrate on the economy. by God's grace, I will handle the security arm. Not only handle the security arm, I will lead the troops to battle across the length and breadth of this country.
The Nigerian currency has been depreciating in the parallel markets compared to the dollar. The candidates offered their solutions to the economic instability at the Nigeria Bar Association's, that is the NBA's annual general conference held in Victoria Island, Lagos State. PDP flag bearer Atiku Abubakar spoke on ways to improve the economy.
It is only when you have a stable exchange rate that people like me who have factories will be able to access the foreign exchange to produce and therefore retain the labor force.
The 62nd NBA conference officially opened on 19 August and will continue till 26 August. Also, Labour Party presidential candidates spoke at the conference.
Why can't we have state police and let everybody police the state, give the governors power to police their states and hold them responsible? That's number one. What is federal government doing with education? Why are they controlling education? Every state should be able to deal with their education. If you want to educate your people, we will support you, and you do that.
When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us and on to the shores of West Africa. Remember, this is Hills TV and this, of course, is Africa Today. Getting on to Sierra Leone, having you know that the families of Sierra Leoneans who died in protest against the spiraling cost of living arrived at a morgue in the capital Freetown on Monday to identify their loved ones. A small crowd gathered outside the Connaught Hospital, where officials said the remains of 31 people were waiting to be identified. Hawa Kamara said she had come from Makeni, around 200 kilometers, that is 120 miles northeast of the capital, to identify the corpse of her brother who was killed on his way home by a bullet. Desmond Samai said he too had lost his 34-year-old brother and has not been allowed to bury him. Morgue official Sine Kamara said the majority of the bodies had bullet wounds, adding that 5 were policemen and 26 were civilians, although no official toll has been released. Clashes occurred in Freetown and other cities such as Makeni and Kamakwie in the north of the country on August 10, when an economic protest descended into violence between the security forces and demonstrators. Sierra Leone has had a reputation for relative stability since the end of a brutal 1991 to 2002 civil war that claimed some 120,000 lives. Its population of 8 million people lives in one of the poorest nations in the world, ranking 182 out of the 189 countries in the UN Human Development Index, a benchmark of prosperity. Bringing you more stories, 9 people were killed in clashes between farmers and herders 500 kilometers south of Chad's capital, N'Djamena, which has been plagued by deadly intercommunal conflicts. The violence between communities is frequent in central and southern Chad, where many inhabitants are armed. They mainly pit nomadic Arab herders against sedentary indigenous farmers who accuse the former of ransacking their fields while grazing their animals. On 10 August, 13 people were killed in clashes between farmers and herders. The conflict started when a child stole a farmer's hoe. In August 2021, 22 people were killed in inter-community clashes 200 kilometers east of the Chadian capital. In February 2021, 35 people were killed in the south of the country. And this will be time out to other parts of Africa. Don't go away. This is Africa Today. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Somalia's Prime Minister has pledged that the government will be held accountable for the deadly Mogadishu hotel siege by al-Shabaab jihadists whom he branded children of hell. Hamza Abdi Bare also called on Somalis to unite in the fight against the al-Qaeda-linked group, which has been waging a bloody insurgency in the nation for more than 15 years. The radical Islamist Shabab attack on a Mogadishu hotel at the weekend that left at least 21 people dead and 117 injured. He also said it is the responsibility of government that no one in the government will escape their responsibility. Away from that, let's get on to Kenya. Kenya's defeated presidential candidate Raila Odinga filed a petition to the court's top court Monday, challenging the outcome of the August 9 election in what he called a fight for democracy and good governance. Odinga, a veteran opposition leader who ran with the backing of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the ruling party, has rejected the outcome of the poll that delivered victory to his rival William Ruto, branding it a travesty. The 77-year-old politician lost his fifth bid for the presidency by a narrow margin of around 230,000 votes, less than 2 percentage points. Odinga told the press conference after filing the case that the party has enough evidence that it won the election.
The 2022 presidential election represents the most daring move by that cartel to overturn the wishes of the electorate. We refuse to allow Kenya to go that direction. It must not happen, and it will not happen.
Since 2002, no presidential election in Kenya has gone uncontested, with this year's outcome also causing a rift within the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the IEBC, which oversaw the poll. According to a copy of the 72-page petition, Odinga's team alleges that IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati failed to tally around 140,000 votes. Odinga's lawyer Paul Mwangi told newsmen that a physical copy of the petition would be filed before the Supreme Court's 2 p.m. deadline.
We think that election amounted to a civilian coup to the effect that every rule of the game was violated.
In a related development, children from one of Kenya's smallest and most isolated tribes put on life jackets and board a fishing boat for the journey across the lake to school. Until recently, they could walk the distance. A road connected the El Molo with the world beyond their tiny village, a lifeline for a secluded community of fishers and craftspeople subsisting on the shores of Lake Turkana. But 3 years ago, the lake started rising dramatically, lapping at the El Molo's dome-shaped huts draped in dry fish, and then pushing inland and forcing villagers to higher ground. Turkana, already the world's largest desert lake, stretching 250 kilometers, which is 155 miles tip to tip, grew 10% in the decade to 2020, and according to a government study published last year. Bringing you more stories you need to end the electoral campaign, appealing to Angolans to vote for change. In Kazanga, on the outskirts of Luanda, thousands of supporters of Adalberto Costa Jr. gathered. The presidential candidate attacked MPLA's governance and listed several problems of the country. UNITA's leader appealed to citizens to make sure they secure their votes on the 24th near the polling stations. Adalberto Costa Jr. closed the campaign reiterating his complaints about the electoral process. He stressed his party's confidence before the election observers and made it clear that Cape Verde is the CPLP, the type of democracy that Angola can follow. Coming right up next is Business on Africa Today. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Africa Today, and of course, this is the Business Desk. Let's talk some business. More revelations on the power purchase agreements, that is the PSAs, entered into with power generating firms on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria have emerged as the House of Representatives Committee on Finance investigating the deals engaged the transmission company of Nigeria, that is the TCN. The chairman House Committee, James Faleke, expresses his disappointment over the absence of the managing director. The committee, which discovered last Friday that in one of the PSAs with Azura Power Station by the Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company, that is the NBET, the country was committed to a monthly payment of about $33 million in a take-or-pay deal, was also on Monday told that the same power plant had never been able to deliver anything close to the 450 megawatts of electricity to the national grid since the commencement of the contract. A director in the TCN, Victor Adewumi, who led the team representing the firm, got the James Faleke-led committee bemused. He presented the average monthly exported energy from the said plant into the national grid, with none of the figures reflecting at any point. Australia-based oil and gas company Invictus Energy said Friday it would next month begin exploring for gas in northern Zimbabwe. If successful, this could lead to Zimbabwe's first gas production and could ease the country's perennial power woes. Exploration was to start some 200 kilometers, that is 120 miles north of the capital, Harare, near the border with Mozambique, at a field that is estimated to hold 20 trillion cubic feet of gas, according to Invictus. It was previously explored by the U.S. giant Mobil Oil in the early 1990s. Invictus Energy signed the exploration, development, and production deal with Zimbabwe in 2018. Zimbabwe is plagued by energy shortages, forcing outages of up to 15 hours a day. Coming right up next on Africa Today is sports. Don't go away.